Recording there. Okay, this is number 8 in the Life and Career Series video, and this is the exciting one because now I can say I got the job. I have got a full-time UX position at the moment. It's pretty exciting. It's scary. There's lots of things going on. Let's kind of take it back to the beginning or where we left off from the last video. So in late May of this year, 2024, I returned to a former employer where I had worked before and held a lot of different roles, but I returned at the very bottom of the ladder because I just needed something to keep my head above water while I kept looking for UX work. And at first I thought I'd stick it out like 9 months to a year or whatever, and then I'd go back into looking because looking for work has been hard, and there's been some sentiment that like April 2025 is going to be that magic time when it kind of turns around again for UX. We'll see. Anyways, I started in late May and the vibe was just kind of wrong. A lot of things had changed since I worked there last, and things there changed and things changed with me. And I was getting this incredible tendonitis in my elbow as I moved 6,000 to 7,000 pounds of product a night with my arms. And I started to think, well, I'll look again in August. I'll take June and July off to kind of get used to this job, kind of focus on my physical health and my elbow. And then in August, I'll get back to looking for work. Before August could get here, a friend of mine, Shannon, reached out to me with a possible opportunity. And even though I was kind of taking this self-imposed break from UX, like the opportunity was too good to like ignore. So my friend Shannon is also a graduate of Design Lab, and she had been doing some part-time work for a couple different places. And one of those places was this early stage startup called Good Bread. And Good Bread is looking to redefine the terms of creditworthiness for small businesses looking to borrow money.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into a whole ton of detail on Good Bread, and I'll maybe talk about what it's like to work at an early stage startup in another video. But I will share kind of the process of how I got hired. It's a little bit unique. It had a lot to do with like my networking and social proof, things like that. So it started off, I had a couple conversations with the founder, Noah Simons, and we made sure that we're kind of in alignment with our goals and things like that. She understood that I'd done some UX work before, but I was looking for a full-time gig, but I was also currently working full-time and trying to get out of that. And I think a lot of what worked was that the timing of when she needed someone, and I think the diversity of my skills also kind of helped me get in the door. I'll get to more of that in a second. So I ended up doing some work for Good Bread part-time while I was on vacation from my full-time job. And during that time, I had a little bit of a handoff from Shannon. I wasn't sure if I was the candidate they were going to go with until the weekend before I started full-time, I think. And they kind of made it official. I started full-time August 2nd. And everything was great, but there are like some caveats. It's technically a 2-month contract. I'm there for halfway through August through halfway through October while I help get this product from zero designed and launched. And that's a tight timeline for an experienced team, and it is challenging being the only designer. You might be asking, like, why would you leave a full-time job with benefits and everything in order to go do a 2-month contract? So, like, I'm trying to do a career transition here. I've done some UX work freelance and on spec, and I've done some, study assignments and things like that. But I want the full-time thing like I'm doing now, indefinitely. So we have a sort of a handshake agreement that after the 2 months, they're hoping to keep me on hourly as necessary. And some of that might be for non-UX work. But everything is kind of fluid, and I don't want to get my hopes up. So in the back of my mind, there's a thought that, like, I could just be gone in October. Beyond that, my other fears and concerns were, even before I took this job, I had the thought, if I'm not good at this, I'll just be gone. I'll get fired. And I think that's just the way it works in this field. I'm sure you know people who aren't very good and are managing to keep their jobs. But the thing is, when you get to this kind of level in your career, I have not lived up to my potential in the workplace in terms of what I could be doing. I've taken a lot of jobs where it's very easy to understand the expectations and just go through. Most of them have not required a college education like I have or knowledge of any of the other things that I have. They've just been hourly jobs with benefits, a lot of times on third shift. This was not by design. Some of it just kind of happens and you get complacent where you're at. I had some life events along the way that made me pivot very quickly. So all over the years, I've still been freelancing and doing some different things in design. And it's just never been a great time to go full time. So the opportunity to do that even for 2 months was kind of worth it. What else has happened since our last video? I want to talk about some people I've met. One of those people is Allison Gretz. She is a leadership facilitator and designer. She wears a lot of different hats. You can check out her website at designbydesign.co or check out her LinkedIn profile. She is doing some stuff for Good Bread that she doesn't exactly advertise these services, but she kind of has her hands in some design stuff and some facilitation things. And when Good Bread brought her on in like week 2 of me being there, it made me less anxious about all the things we have to do immediately. I had a worry early on that like, oh, I had this fear that like I'm the cynical guy or I'm the downer. I don't want to be the downer in meetings. Sometimes it's hard to like put those concerns aside. So anyways, Allison's been doing some great work for Good Bread. I'm happy to meet her. The other person I met is this man named Dan O'Malley, and he's also a Design Lab graduate. He finished the program about the same time that I was starting. He's done a handful of different things since leaving Design Lab, and one of those is he has this startup called UNetwrk, and I'll share the address here. And it is an online Kanban board that lets you organize your networking contacts. And what's cool about it is it has a Chrome extension that you can use in LinkedIn and other places that you can add your contacts to this board, then add details about them, how often you've stayed in touch. How we got in touch was I had made a post on the Design Lab thing about how I got this job with Good Bread. And so he wanted to know how I did that and how networking came into play. And then basically I was a user interview for his product, and then he told me kind of more about the product. So it was kind of an interesting thing. He is letting me give 10% off to anyone who uses this code that I will share on the screen here. And a couple other things I wanted to say about networking. On the face of getting this job with Good Bread, it might look like I knew someone and they recommended me and that was how easy it was to get the job. Like on the face of it, I can see how you can think that, but I think that discounts that for 18 months, I held something like 19 sessions of UX job seeker huddle meetings, and I held 4 quarterly UX happy hours through the course of that time. And I was very active in a number of Discord servers. I think Shannon and I were on 3 mutual Discord servers. And I think being active in the community of your chosen field is what's more important than how many people you know. And it's what are the things that you're doing while you're in those communities that help people remember who you are when they have an opportunity to share with you or not. And I think a lot of it is thinking about it in terms of what you can give and not what you can get out of someone. And maybe I'll do some more stuff on networking later. Dan O'Malley has already talked to me about potentially doing a video about that in the future. So we'll see if that discussion ever takes place. What else can I tell you about? Right now, I am reading the User Experience Team of One. I'm trying to actually read it. I actually took a couple days off. I need to get back into it. My goal is to have it done in less than 2 weeks. And I might be floundering on that goal if I don't catch up over the weekend. One of the co-authors of this edition of the book is Jonah Tolley, who also operates UX 365 Academy. And this is something that I joined just I think it was last Friday I just joined. I still haven't done a ton with it. The VIP group meets twice a month, so I already missed the first one for September, but the next one is a week from today. So I'm excited to see how joining this kind of community or cohort of peers helps me with my career, helps me to think about things going forward. The cost I feel was super reasonable compared to some of the other courses and boot camps and things that are out there. It's not like a online course where you're given assignments and things. I don't want to go into too much detail. Go to the website, check it out, see if it's something that might be right for you. I might have more to share or a bigger review on that later. In other news, I built a new top for my desk. I got a standing desk. I'm always tweaking the setup. Getting the office clean, getting it organized always makes for being more productive, I feel, if everything's a mess or whatever. If something is bugging you about your setup, it's hard for me to keep going with things. Launched some music this year. In June, I released a couple of EPs on most streaming platforms. I've been pretty quiet about this because they're not my favorite recordings. They have not been professionally mastered or mixed or anything. These were sort of tributes that I recorded as a tribute to my mother on her birthday. My mother would have turned 61 this year. We mark those times in different ways, and in this way, I did a release of some music that she would have enjoyed. Part of that reason that I did it this way was that I have plans to do a larger body of work, and this was sort of a test run for what is it like to release music online that gets into things. So if you look up John Everett Morton on your favorite streaming platform, I use Tidal myself, but Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, whatever else is out there. John Everett Morton is the artist name. I'm toying with the idea of doing National Novel Writing Month again. That's in November. One more thing. At one point, I had mentioned that I was studying for the Series 65 exam. I kind of set that aside. It's not something I'm going to give up on. In the long run, it's still something I'm interested in, but for now, it's just not a top priority thing. Maybe it's something I revisit before the end of the year. We're going to see what happens with my work situation after October. So thank you again for tuning in. I'm so appreciative of everyone who's had comments or help or whatever along the way. It's so great to finally be saying that I've got the job. Best of luck to everyone out there who's still looking or looking again.